Welcome to the June 2nd, 2025 Advance Report for McGowanGroup clients and, of course, networthradio.com listeners. All these charts and graphs are at networthradio.com, and there's some details there that I think you ought to go see in the podcast. Plus, you can contact us there. All right, 2% gain on the S&P after this week. So S&P has moved into positive territory. This was very important. Trade war, right? Trump puts tariffs on everybody, and you're right here. That was over 20% lower than today. What's happened? The markets this week demonstrated, of course, the title of the program today was No More Tariffs, ? No More Trade Wars, ? And the answer is the markets don't seem to care this week at all, right? This is a pretty good week right here. 1 2/3% for just this week on all three major indexes. Wow, because first all the tariffs were negated by the International Trade Court. Then there was an injunction that said no, tariffs are back on. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. Did it look like the markets really care? No, the markets have moved on to focus on other things. I'm going to give you two reasons why. Personal consumption, expenditures, inflation this week, just 2.1%. That's almost the Fed's target over the past year, setting the stage to potentially cut interest rates on June 18th. Now, the other good news, Atlanta Fed says the current GDP growth, which they measure every week, and we're 2/3 the way through the quarter now, and you're at 2.2% growth. Did the tariffs cause inflation? No. It's actually the lowest point since the inflation spike. Did the tariffs cause GDP, economic growth, economic activity to go down? So far, not. Wow. That says everything we were thinking about tariffs hasn't been true. If you were a subscriber and a long-term viewer of the Net Worth Radio McGowan Group, you would know because we covered 2018, 2019, the last time there were massive tariffs. And what impact did it have? Not much. And we showed it to you graphically. That's why you want to subscribe. By the way, I'm Spencer McGowan, your financial weatherman and President, McGowan Group Wealth Management. We love our clients. We serve affluent client families right here from the Crescent in Dallas. Shout out to Preston Lane, who also has huge digital expertise, which is why I can speak with you each week from the Net Worth Radio McGowan Group offices. You can go to networthradio.com and also set your time for a plan. All right, enough about that. S&P 500 up 1%. That was the NASDAQ. It's up 2%. Why? Earnings growth, 12.5% over last year. We're about to enter earnings season in July for the second quarter earnings announcements. And the earnings reports that are coming in between look really good. Dell, Round Rock, Texas-based Dell, actually raised their forecast this week for 26 and 27. NVIDIA apparently knocked the cover off the ball, 69% gain in revenue, 33% in profits. That is slowing growth. Warren Buffett retired. This is big news. Why is it we hear so much about Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway? He's 94. I guess he deserves to retire, and clearly he's been wealthy enough for a long time. Why didn't he do it sooner? He's still going to be chairman of the board. What is his track record? It is the greatest 60-year track record ever assembled in the history of investing. 60 years, and let's go to the next page, 19.9%. To put that in context, every dollar that, if you could give him money in 1965, every dollar you gave him is now $53,000. S&P 500 is a 10.4. He's a 19.9. That's why you hear so much about it. Now, the details are at networthradio.com, but I'm going to give you a few things that he says. You want to own great companies with real earnings bought at a reasonable price. His current portfolio, 3/4 of the portfolio is actually invested. 1/4 is in cash, in part because he has insurance companies and reinsurance companies, so he might need an extra 100 billion now and then, but it's about 250 billion and the overall portfolio just below 1.2 trillion. And we're going to go into the details on that. By the way, he still owns his Apple. There were big headlines that said he sold his Apple. No, he took some profit off the table, which we tend to do in our investment committee here at McGowanGroup Wealth Management. Dallas home prices have stalled. This is the national index over the past year, and it's up it's 4.4% from here to here. You can see it stalled in February. So you've had home prices stall. Your house here in North Texas, this is important. Wow. That's about a 1% drop over 6 months. On this scale, it looks huge, but it's not. So it's a 1% drop over the past 6 months in the price of the average home here in North Texas. Year over year, it's only a 0.19% increase. Now, the 5-year for Dallas is a different story. All right, so home prices have stalled, in part because people in North Texas are really good at building stuff, and all the hinterlands of Fort Worth, Dallas, all the way up to Oklahoma are getting new homes. So there's a lot of supply here. But look at this. This was more than a 50% increase. Now, you may want to just email me for this graph the next time, because you got your appraisal this last year. Average increase was about 8%, but the real price increase stalled 3 years ago, and the Dallas Appraisal District is still raising the appraisals. This is crazy. All right, I'm Spencer McGowan, President, McGowanGroup Wealth Management. We look forward to serving your family in the year ahead. Thank you for tuning in today to Net Worth Media. We also have Apple Podcast. Simply type in Net Worth Radio and boom, it'll hit your phone right then. If you also go to networthradio.com on a browser, you're going to be able to meet the team. You could see our performance track record, the model portfolios that go with today's broadcast. Also at networthradio.com, the longer play podcast is available there as well. We're grateful that you've tuned in. Remember, when we talk about a security, it doesn't make it a recommendation for your portfolio until we actually complete a written plan for you by Zoom or in office or simply a conference call. So you reach us at networthradio.com if you want to get that arranged. Market fluctuations and how to handle them. We build high cash flow portfolios, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results, so you do have to be ready for challenging markets. We can build more cash flow during challenging markets than we can when everybody's happy and everything's up, which is when we tend to raise tactical safety. Those allocation strategies are here at networthradio.com. Thank you for tuning in.